Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a gloomy Monday morning here in suburban Chicago. We've got thick cloud cover, that kind of gray cloud cover that is almost uniform across the sky. The classic line from Neuromancer, the sky was the color of a television tuned to a dead channel. That's what this looks like today. So that's a fun way to take a walk. It's also just on the edge of drizzling. I feel these occasional drippy drops, but like light whispers of drip drops touching me. I don't know. By the end, it might be full-blown raining and I'll be getting wet and not enjoying this walk at all, but we'll see. It's been a while since I talk to you about new games, so I thought today would be a good time to do that. So that's right, it's time for Shooting from the Hip Triple Shot, Father's Day edition. So for Father's Day, a couple weeks ago, my family did not get me presents ahead of time because buying presents for a gamer is always a bit scattershot, and they had just bought me presents for my birthday. So my wife just had as one of our activities for Father's Day, let's go to the game store, pick you out a couple games. I was like, nothing better. So that's what we did. And these are the 3 games that I picked out, 2 of which we played in the same day and the third one we played the next day. So by the end of the 2 days, I think Father's Day was Sunday, so like Monday night, I had played all 3 games I got, which is even better because that means I didn't add to my shelf of opportunity. The first game I want to talk about is the Glenn Drover game, Raccoon Tycoon. Now, I will admit this is not a game that I really had on my radar. I thought it looked a little too mean for my taste and a bit more economic focused than I generally would choose to play. But my son expressed interest in it because of the animal theme, and my wife said she'd like to give it a try. So we picked it up, and it was a lovely find. If you haven't seen it before, Raccoon Tycoon is a game about anthropomorphized animals leading economic development in, for some reason, Astoria, which I presume the name is meant to evoke like Storyland or something, but just instead to me sounds like the town in California where The Goonies was filmed, which seems like a weird choice for where animals would build up their economic development, but there it is. The game is definitely designed to be Gateway Plus. It's relatively simple to teach. On your turn, you have one of 5 things you can do that basically involve getting resources or building the various different kinds of buildings or other things that you can build. When you get resources, you also raise the value of resources, and often those are not quite the same. So you'll have these cards that have which resources you get and which resource markets you affect on the card. And you have to take the whole card or nothing. Well, that's not entirely true. You have a limit to how many resources you can hold. So if you can't take all the resources that the card gives you, then at the end of your turn, you discard any extras. But then you also change the value of the market. So there's an interesting consideration to be made for, if I really want wheat, do I also want to raise the value of, or luxury goods as one of the markets. So there's like 9 markets that you can use. And those markets then become an essential way that you make money. So the idea is like you're gathering goods, and then you can take a sell action to sell any number of one particular good that you like. And so, if you wait till the luxury goods market gets really high, and then you happen to have a bunch of luxury goods, you can sell those at a great profit. You can also build these buildings, which usually give you a bonus of some sort. So like one building you might get is, at the beginning, each person gets 1 building for free, but you might get a building that gives you 1 extra luxury good every time you take goods. So then you're really going to want to lean into making the luxury good market go up. So that's kind of an example there. So you can gather goods and raise the markets. You can sell goods. Oh, and so like, let's say the luxury good market is up to 10. If you sell 5 luxury goods, which are these little wine bottles, at 10, you get 50, and then you lower the luxury market 5 steps. So there's a bit of an element of watching the other players and kind of trying to decide when you're going to sell the goods. And then aside from buildings, you can also buy railroads, which are bought in auction, and you can buy cities, which become a kind of multiplier for the railroads. I'll confess the nuance of scoring probably isn't worth explaining here, except that you get points for all these different things in different ways, and so you can kind of lean into one aspect or another of the point scoring opportunities, except that the sets of railroads are worth a lot of points if you can get all 4 of them or all 5 of them. So the game goes until 2 of the 3 things you can build have run out. So either buildings, towns, or railroads. Once 2 of those have run out, then the game ends that round. And you get points for a variety of things. Like I said, it's a pretty solid intro level economic game. It's a little stabby. There are a couple things you can do that really get under other people's skin, like outbid them for the railroads. Like if you start an auction on a railroad when they are low on cash, then you could get the railroad they really need, kind of disrupt their ability to get sets. You also could sell in the market right before they're going to. Or I got a combo going in our second game, which was pretty good, where I got this one building that allows you to raise the value of a good 3 steps before you sell it, which means that you can jack up the profits quite a bit on goods. And then I got this other building that lets me buy any number of goods that I like from someone else at the current value, and they can't say no. So one of the things I was doing late in the game was I was wait till somebody gets a bunch of one particular good, particularly if the market was 2/3 of the way toward the top, ideally 3 steps down from the top, and then I would in one turn buy all of their goods of that market, and then the next turn I would raise the value of the market 3 steps and sell their goods along with any goods I had of that market at a huge profit. And boy, they didn't like that. But the reality is, it wasn't really that big a hit economically, and they got their money earlier. So it felt not great, but in terms of gameplay, it felt like a bigger screw over than it actually was. The theme of this game is really, really light. There's some really cute animal art on the railroad cards, but other than that, it's strictly an economic game with no theme at all, which is fine. It's fun. It doesn't feel like you're being a tycoon particularly, or building towns, it feels like a math puzzle with a slight hint of theme to it. That said, my wife enjoyed the couple plays of it that we had. My son has played with us a couple times. My mom played and she thought it was fun. So worth trying, at least if you haven't had a chance. That's Raccoon Tycoon from, I believe, Forbidden Games is the publisher. Glenn Drover is the designer of that one. The next game I want to talk about is MicroMacro Crime City. MicroMacro Crime City is a very popular, I think Kenner Spiel des Jahres nominated mystery game, where the whole thing of the game is you get this huge map. It's like, 20 inches by 28 inches, something. It's really big. And it's drawn in tiny, intricate drawings of a scene of a city. And there's little pictures of people moving about the city. Think about like a Where's Waldo drawing. And then you get a series of cards in envelopes. You have to put them in envelopes yourself, which is kind of funny. But you get a series of cards that depict different, or challenge you to find different mysteries hidden in the city. And then they ask you questions about the mystery, and you have to solve them by looking at the maps on the city. They range in difficulty from 1 star to 5 stars. The 1-star ones take about, with our family, it took about 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe, to do the 1-star ones. And we haven't done a 5-star one yet. I think the highest we've done is like a 3-star, and that took maybe 10 or 15 minutes. They're very short. The game comes with, I think, 15 cases, and we've played 2 sittings where we did like 3 cases in each sitting, maybe 4 or 5 cases. I think we did 4 cases the first time and 3 cases the second time. So we're about halfway through. This is a really neat little game. The map is very detailed, and there's lots of stuff to look at in the map that's just really fun. It's also very skillfully drawn in terms of the ability to use the map for what it's for, right? So this is a game about solving these mysteries, and so you have to figure out something. So say it's the mystery of who stole the radio. And first they would have you find the place where the radio is stolen. They show you the electronics store. And maybe in the electronics store, there's a little drawing of the radio that's on sale and an empty shelf next to it, and you have the shopkeeper crying or something. And then it'll say something like, who which way did the person who stole the radio go? And then if you sort of spread out from there, maybe you'll find a person with a radio like a block away, the same radio that's drawn in the little picture, running. You're like, oh, okay, this is the person who stole the radio. And then it's like, the cops need to recover it. Where is the fence? Where's the person who's gonna try to sell the radio? So then you have to kind of extrapolate from where the person is running, and then you kind of look forward and until you find, like maybe you'll find more drawings of them running with the radio, or you find them, maybe you find them handing the radio over to somebody for some money. Now you know where the fence is. And then maybe you have to follow the fence back to their shop. They run a pawn shop or something. And then you have to go backwards and find the person who stole the radio, find out where they live. So you have to go backwards and look for them before they stole the radio, and you'll see them in different vignettes walking along or doing whatever until you can find them coming out of an apartment building or whatever. It's a really interesting mode I just made that one up, by the way. There's not the great mystery of the stolen radio. It's a really interesting mode for mysteries. I confess I thought the cases would be a little harder or take a little longer. Like I said, we haven't done the 4 and 5 star ones yet, so maybe those difficult ones will be a little slower. This is probably a really fun solo activity for a family of 4. Basically, my wife and I don't do very much. It's mostly the kids looking at the map and having fun. I help a little, my wife helps a little, but mostly it's the kids. But that's fine. It is really fun and definitely recommended to check out. It also has the advantage of that some one-play games do, which is that when you're done playing them, you can just loan it, give it to someone else or sell it along. Nothing is damaged during the play, so it's playable after you've finished it. That's MicroMacro Crime City, designed by Johanna Sitch, with artists Gab Daniel Gall, Tobias Jochnicki, and Johanna Sitch, and published by Spielweiss. Finally, the third one I want to talk about is Adventure Games, Volcanic Island. Adventure Games is a new series from Cosmos, the same people who make the Exit series. Those games it is another series of one-play games, so you play the game and when you're done with it, it is finished once you've played through it. The designers are Phil Walker Harding, Matthew Dunstan, and Chihiro Mori. And like I said, it's from Cosmos. So Adventure Games Volcanic Island is one of 6 of these that have been published so far or announced. I'm not sure. They did 3 in 2020, and there's 3 more in the 2021 slate. I don't know if they're out yet. So the premise of this game is it's an exploration game with a little bit of narrative development in it. You have a series of cards that are laid out, and you have these characters and you pick things to do on the numbers on the cards, and then there is an app that tells you what happens, or there's an adventure book you can read from. The system for having the numbers work is pretty interesting. Like each location has a 3-digit number, so that's fine. And then you have a number, you have this big deck of cards, and occasionally the game will tell you to take stuff from the cards. So you might find, to continue our example before, you might find a radio, and then you might go to a location and find a shopkeeper crying because someone has stolen their radio. And so then you can combine the radio you found, card number 41, with the shop location 365, and then you either go to entry or you type in the app 41365. You always do the smaller number first, then the larger. You combine them like that, and then that'll get you a new entry. And then, you get to read what happens when the shopkeeper gets their radio back. Maybe it'll have you discard the radio card and take a different card, which is, a thank you note from the shopkeeper, or it'll advance the story in some other way. It works really well. It's an interesting puzzle that allows for a little bit of problem solving. Definitely not my favorite. The story is interesting and weird. I like the way that the characters interact, and I like the system for managing cards and everything. But compared to the more direct puzzles of something like Unlock or Exit, I like those better than this sort of broader narrative approach, in part because so much of it depends on the quality of the writing and whether you're into the story or not. Like this one, I'm just not into the story. So it's a little hard to be super excited about it. At the heart of a narrative adventure game, the narrative has to be really good. And this narrative's a little confusing, and I don't know. Yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet. Now we've played 3 sessions so far, so we are about halfway through the game. The game is divided into, I think 5 chapters. and it will give you a natural pause at the end of a chapter. It'll say end of chapter, and you can stop and put the game away, and you can start again later. I think one thing that is challenging us in terms of enjoying the game is that we are not doing it in one sitting. Now, it would take a long time to do in one sitting, easily 5 hours, maybe more. And that's a big commitment of time. However, I'm starting to feel like, having played it like 3 times now over a couple of weeks, starting to feel like this is a game kind of like Time Stories, where it's going to work best if you play it in one sitting, because all of the details are fresh and the story kind of flows together chapter after chapter. And so I'm thinking, because we got the second one as well, I got the dungeon. I picked that up in Portland, actually. I think for that one, we may just see when we have a day where we can do the whole story in one go and see if that provides a more satisfying adventure than the playing piecemeal. The downside to that, of course, is it's much harder to arrange a whole day. And then when you have a whole day to play games, you got to spend it all on this game. What if you don't? What if this game isn't as fun? Like I said, the puzzle's clever. The art is nice. I mean, it's fine. It's not incredible. I didn't find myself marveling at the wonder of the art. But yeah, and the characters are interesting. The game has, I don't want to say much about it, but the game has some unexpected turns in terms of what's happening with the characters or how they're working that makes for an amusing experience. So yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to try, the other thing is this game so far at least has not involved any destroying of components. So it very much is a game where when we finish playing it, we'll be able to give it away or sell it, and other people can play it in the same way. So that, I like that. I really appreciate when a one-play game is reusable because it just, makes for a better experience, makes for a better value, and it's not as wasteful. We aren't throwing away a whole game after using it one time. So those are my thoughts on adventure games of the Volcanic Island. What have you been playing lately? You can share those insights over on Board Game Geek. Guild 3269 is my home for this podcast over there. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can email me, brendan@rattleboxgames.com. You can send me a geek mail message at my username on Board Game Geek is Wombat929. If you'd like to find me in digital online platforms, I am on Board Game Arena, Boitaju, and Yukata.de, playing asynchronous games with the username Wombat929. Well, the travel I've done in the last couple of weeks, I think my user score over on Board Game Arena has suffered a little bit, because I've been a little delinquent in my games, oops to doops. But I am generally a fun person to play with, and usually pretty reliable. Well, I look forward to hearing what you've been playing, and until next time, thanks for joining me. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.